This trigger film was developed for health services to use as part of an experience-based co-design process, EBCD. EBCD is a patient-centred quality improvement process. The film is intended to get local people, patients, families and NHS staff talking together about how they can jointly improve people's experience of health services. You can find out more about this process and how to use the trigger films by accessing this link to the EBCD toolkit. This film draws from a collection of 39 interviews with young people who have experienced depression. The interviews were conducted across the UK by Health Experiences Research Group at the University of Oxford. It includes people talking about how depression felt, being diagnosed and getting help, communication with health professionals, experiences of different treatments and settings, and thoughts about age-related services. The full study can be seen on healthtalk.org. We'd like to know more about how you use this or other trigger films in the collection, and we'd be grateful if you'd spend a few minutes completing the feedback form. The link to this is on this page.
This depression, which I didn't know what it was, just literally erupted, and I was in a seriously bad place. I just couldn't do anything, was just housebound, just floods of tears, couldn't sleep, had severe anxiety, retching, just you'd end up in a ball on the floor, just going hysterical. You just don't know what's going on. It's undiagnosed, and you're thinking, crap, this is mental ill. You don't know what's going on. Are you going insane? You're thinking, what is this all about?
Well, I say over the last maybe 8 years or so, I was having kind of problems which I suppose you could definitely say were mental health problems. But my parents, especially culturally, they don't really believe that. It's kind of a quiet taboo anyway. Then just generally, they don't believe you could have mental health problems. They thought it's just someone being a bit silly, so it was I didn't really have the courage to make an effort to do anything about it.
In a lot of ways, in actually detecting mental health problems in teenagers becomes really difficult, because people can't distinguish, as to what is normal, adolescent behaviour, and what's actually, a serious problem. And it normally has to get to a stage where it's so serious that it's gone quite far and it needs more treatment than perhaps if it would have been detected earlier.
You sat there just waiting, twiddling your thumbs, and then you finally get in there, and then as soon as you say it, it's out there for the world. And it's like a massive pressure off your chest. It is just so much relief to know that you finally told someone, and that, okay, telling your mum, yeah, that's okay, but your mum can't write a prescription. You actually tell a doctor or a nurse, or you tell somebody of authority like that. As soon as you tell some of them, the pressure is it's like an almost weight off your chest.
Diagnosis is just the most important thing, and I think, to trust that you've got depression, regardless of whatever that means, is a good step, because at least then you can kind of visualize how long an outcome would be until you're ready to, to lead a good life again.
Yeah.
So diagnosis would at least give you the hope.
Whenever I went to a counselling service and whenever I went to the GP, you fill out the standard sort of a depression indicator test, which is it's a 1 or 2 page test, just about questions about how you're feeling and how often you feel that way and things like that. So that's
pretty clear to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was and it was kind of good to sort of have that form, and I filled it out and looked at it and went, and it kind of made me realise if I filled this out a year ago, it would have been 0000000, well 00101 or whatever. But it just sort of looked and went, that isn't normal for me. That's not where I would have been 6 months ago. This is different, quite different. So that sort of making that realisation, I guess, helped.
I don't think having a diagnosis makes a difference, because if you're suffering from something, you're suffering from something whether or not it's kind of accepted. But the only thing I'd say with diagnosis is, because I think medication does make a difference, I think with a formal diagnosis that would have been an option. But because I haven't had a formal diagnosis until I see a psychiatrist and get one, medication is kind of not going to happen. I think it does make a bit of a difference, because then your doctors and your family, and because if someone else says you've got a problem, then other people are more likely to listen. If you say you've personally have got a problem, they're just going to kind of brush it away. If someone else says, oh, this person actually has got a problem, then it just seems people are more likely to listen.
She was great. She reassured me. She gave me a cuddle. She let me cry. She was just fantastic with me. I mean, there aren't many GPs out there that would hug you when you walk into their office and hug you when you walk out. And she's been like that with me for the past few years. And, you know, that's fantastic. Most GPs want you in and out, you know, write out a prescription, off you go. She's not like that. Lucky. I have said to her, if she wasn't my GP, I probably really wouldn't be here now. And so for me, she was my support. I'm still distant from it because I know she's a GP and she's there to do a job, but she was my support looking back.
Don't react to people like they are. Just because they have a mental health condition, it doesn't make them any less intelligent or any less capable of dealing with the minutest detail of their condition. Don't say one thing to them and another thing to their parents, because that's just pathetic, okay? We can deal with it. Just don't lie to us. We're pretty cool like that. We're people as well as conditions.
I'm going back and back and back to these doctors, again, trying to prove how bad I am to warrant some better medication, or because that was the way I'd been brought up to think about adults. Instead of talking to a doctor reasonably and explaining what was wrong, I was finding I was having to somehow prove that I was worthy of medication or something like that, you know, like, not that ever, like my dream when I was a kid wasn't to grow up and be on meds, but once I did realise just how bad things were, I couldn't believe how difficult it was to be taken seriously.
Unfortunately, the mental health system in this area, and maybe other areas as well, the place that I was under work on a 3-month locum system. So you will see them for 3 months, they go. You get another one for 3 months, they go. So by the time you've built up a trust, you've built the bond, they've gone. And I feel that has been detrimental to my recovery, because I have lost count in how many psychiatrists, psychologists I have seen since I was 14. And not also in the locum side of things. And whether it's against ageism, sexism, I don't care, that it's easier for a woman to talk to another woman than it is for a woman to talk to a man sometimes.
And they know you only have designated GP time, but most people are just kind of feeling really lonely and lost, and think about other ways to encourage them. Don't just give them this, but, you know, someone could say search for a few well-known authors on depression. I can't think of any at the top of my head, on Amazon. That would have helped me. If someone had said regular exercise, join these groups, join your local, don't necessarily join your gym, because I don't think that would be a good idea. Well, the exercise would help, but like a team thing, go learn something that makes you feel good about yourself. If someone had told me that, I probably would have thought it was weird, but if they had given me a reason, I think it would have done an amazing thing.
If I could have been associated with someone that had gone through a very similar process of events, then and saw the guy or the girl that had come out of it, you know, and is having a great life. So similar symptoms, and the desired outcome that you want, you know, then great. Because what made things so much worse was knowing that, not knowing about the subject. You know, the doctor's saying, oh yeah, this happens all the time, but you've got no proof of that at all.
Yeah.
And it's just him. You know, I know doctors don't lie, but at the same time, you're thinking, well, is there really someone else that's gone through this?
And there was the support out there. I mean, sort of through the therapy and things, I saw quite a few people, and it took a while to find that person where it worked with and where I could have that sort of relationship to be able to discuss problems. And sometimes it takes time to find the right person, so just because it doesn't work with the first one doesn't mean that it's not ever going to work and you're not ever going to be able to get the help, or that it's your fault that it doesn't work. It's just sort of that clash in personalities, I guess.
Well, I just feel it's like, you know, but any tablet, you know, medication, it makes you feel something that's artificial. And I want to get to a point where I feel happy on my own. I don't want to have to rely on pharmaceuticals to feel happy. I don't really believe in them because, you know, they might be a little pick me up for a while, but it's artificial to me. It doesn't feel real.
I don't see anything wrong with taking the antidepressants along with other types of therapy to help you feel better, because in the end what depression is a chemical imbalance, and all the antidepressants do is balance the chemical back out. I was quite sceptical at first and not happy about having to pop a pill every morning, but they have helped me. They have, at least on most days, got me to a level where even if I'm still feeling crap, I can think reasonably logically. And I can think, okay, everything's kind of black and grey today, but the other week you had a really fantastic time.
Oh God. Like I said before, if they were giving them free post-it notes that week, you'd be on that meds. If they got a free clickety pen next week that said Zyprexa on it, they'd give you Zyprexa. Like, it was just rubbish. There was no, this is why I'm so chuffed with my psychiatrist that I have now, is because he's looking at my case individually as opposed to, oh, young girl, oh, she'll take that. It's like, no, he's like, well, that's clearly not, you know, he said there's some brilliant, like, other antipsychotics out there, but they'll make you put on weight and stuff, and that'll be a return of the bulimia. And, you know, so it's like he's looking at my case individually and, you know, doing it properly for the first time in years, as, you know, as opposed to just giving me what mix and match, whatever's popular that week kind of thing.
So looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I asked them if I could, like, you know, if they could set me on, like, a therapy or something, and they were like, no. And then they put me on a waiting list. I'm still on this waiting list. And I was really shocked by that, because she was like, yeah, that was like the option, antidepressants, and I didn't, I'm sure that some people, like, you know, need them, because I know some people, like, actually cannot do anything anymore. And I was still on the stage where basically I could get out of bed in the morning, even though it was incredibly hard, but I would just have, like, kind of pointed anxiety attacks. But I felt like, okay, like, this is really hard, but I don't want to start to rely on medication, and I don't think that is really the issue.
I was put on antidepressants because I still weren't quite right. Yeah, and until recently, I only just found out the antidepressants I've been taking at the wrong time. I've been taking them in the evening when I should have been taking them in the morning. All the doctors I've been seeing didn't realise that after 4 years, and now things are better. And it wasn't until I saw the doctor recently, because I was feeling low again, and he said, well, what time do you take your antidepressant? I was like, in the evening, because, well, there's one mistake there. You should be taking them in the morning. I was like, ah. Like, hasn't anyone told you that? And I was like, no. Like, ah. So, like, after 4 years, you know, someone should have told me that, but.
I think it's just helped me sort of talk things through with people more times, and realised that I have someone to view my sort of feelings to without them sort of like having sort of like too much their own opinion. It's just really good to be with someone who knows the sort of things that you've gone through, because he's talked to other people, children my age, well, people my age, teenagers. I just think it's more people who in that sort of situation need to talk things through, otherwise they feel isolated like I did. I thought no one understood how I felt, and finding someone that knew that made me feel happier, and I could sort of like open my sort of like feelings up.
I'm now undergoing CBT which costs £117 per session for the next week, for the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months. And that's the difference in going private, is that there is no length time in CBT.
Right.
Is NHS you only get 10. Private, it's as long as you need it. Which I feel is so much better, because there is no pressure on you've got to be better by 10 weeks.
Yeah.
You've got to be in recovery by 10 weeks, that's it. Whereas I'm in session, I've been coming up to session 3, and I'm nowhere near completion, nowhere near. So it's like there's no actual end. It ends when you feel it needs to end. But financially, it's killed me. It's killed me financially already. But it's been a choice between money or life.
Yeah.
What do? You can't choose it. But then, as a result of me going private, the NHS have pulled me off the list. They've pulled my family off family counselling.
Right.
They sent us a very nasty letter to say that as a result of me going private, they've now cancelled the family consultation that we've been waiting 4 years for. Which I'm astounded by.
The best thing was about it is you with other people that were in exactly the same positions you are. You felt like you weren't alone.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us swapped numbers and we keep in contact and things like that. But I think it wasn't just the therapy that helped, but the people, like meeting other people the same as me, really did help, because you could talk about it and it wasn't weird. It wasn't like they didn't understand. They understood perfectly, like what you were, like how you dealt with things, and it was nice, like being in that environment with everyone. It was relaxing.
And I just thought, yeah, this is just absolutely fantastic, walking in, saying hello, and just talking, just letting it all go. I felt very strong sitting in that particular chair, just thinking, I think this is the reason for this, all my problems, and this is the reason. And the psychotherapist would say, okay, so, and obviously the whole idea is he doesn't tell you what to do. He asks you things so you can find out the answer within. The answer lies within. That's obviously the big thing. But a lot of people would say, well, what if you get dependent on it? And you just think, whether that be counselling or anything like that, and that's not the idea really. You just think it's a nice release at the kind of emotional and like that, and it's nice. It's just, but it's very, very helpful anyway. So.
My experiences of counselling, and this is purely my experiences, which are a dip in the ocean. I've not had a good experience. I've found counsellors very patronising. I've been told when I was suicidal that I should just concentrate on my university work, take my mind off it. Why not have a bath, take up yoga, like, you know, and I'm like, don't patronise me. Like, almost again, it's like not being taken seriously is my main thing. But that's just my experience. Like, a lot of people I know who've been for counselling or therapy, they were like, oh my God, it's totally worked. So again, it might be like the medication, I've just not met or been put in the right situation yet for it to work, you know, which is my hope, because you know, I'll take anything to improve my situation. But I just found it a bit patronising in that at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning you had to switch on as to why your mother hates you. Well, that's all a bit scripted and rehearsed, and I'm really not in the mood right now. What I need is at midnight when I'm shaking and crying. I need something then, not midday the next day when you go in and talk about why you were shaking and crying. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've just found it a little bit put on. But that's just pure. I would encourage anyone to give it a go.
I think a lot of people have a common stereotype about mental health wards and think, you know, that there's people quite remote, and the people I met there were some of the best people I've met. Most of the people I've met there were sort of, you know, the best people I have met, and I made some really good friends there. And whenever people say, you know, well, where were you for that time, and if I said, oh, I was on a mental health ward, they always think, you know, she's really quite strange and quite unwell. But it wasn't. It was just a space where I could take myself away from my everyday life and have that just somewhere completely different. I didn't have to worry about schoolwork. I didn't have to worry about home. Didn't have to worry about sort of paying my bills. None of that. I could just spend some time thinking about my own life and how I got to the state where I'd have to be in that ward in the first place.
So I went in and it was like a hotel. It wasn't anything like I expected it to be. I walked in, really friendly receptionist, you know, hi, you must be, and, you know, she knew my name, and I was just like, oh my God, you know, what have people been saying? And next thing you know, this little lady runs over, and she must have been about 5 foot, and she was lovely, she had a really friendly face, really welcoming, made me feel, you know, quite secure, made me feel quite happy. She came over, hi, you know, introduced herself. She's lovely to meet you. Listen, go through to the music room, have a seat, help yourself to coffee. Are you her boyfriend, her husband, or, you know? It's like, yeah, hi, I'm a partner, and so and so. She could see we were both very tense, very nervous. You know, sort of looking around everywhere, trying to work things out. There were people everywhere. You've got nurses walking around in, you know, normal clothes. You've got people that are living there. You've got family and friends that come to visit people living there. You've got therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, GPs, everybody in this place, just buzzing around, doing their own thing.
They had this school upstairs, and my original school were meant to send me work, but they never did. Some of it was just like pottery and stuff, or just give us a bit of clay and we'd make ashtrays, or they'd have like art and stuff, all that sort of stuff, and it wasn't really like a school. And they only had a 3-month cycle of all the school stuff that they did, so I did everything 4 times, so by the end I knew all the answers. But yeah, we didn't really do any proper schoolwork, and I did so I soon thought that it was a bit pointless anyway, and they used to just take us on trips in this minibus, which was quite stigmatising, being in a minibus, because and people used to point at us and laugh and stuff from the local school, and we'd go swimming, but they wouldn't let us show our scars, so we'd have to go swimming in trousers and long tops, which was a bit, again, it was a bit stigmatising, sort of. Thought, well, if I can't show my scars here, and these people with these people here, you know, with other people with similar problems and staff that are meant to understand this, then when am I ever going to feel comfortable, you know, with the fact that I have scars?
It was quite good though. It was quite a good experience, wasn't it? It was nice to know you weren't alone, type thing. And,
yeah.
You know.
The staff were crap though.
The staff were crap.
The staff were crap. It got to the point where basically, like, they're really close friends you made, and you end up calling them like your staff nurse. She was staff nurse Mandy for me and another girl.
I did everything but not have keys.
Yeah, pretty much. I was staff nurse Frankie.
It got to the point the staff asked us if the person was okay and where they were, and we were supposed to do obs every 15 minutes. It got to about 6 o'clock at night. They're going, where were you at 10 o'clock this morning?
They were supposed to come in your room every half an hour for general obs. You know, we used to be awake like most of the night, and they come in
asleep.
Yeah.
You slept the whole night through. No, I didn't. I saw you at 4 a.m.
You could have been doing anything in your room at night, and they came in twice a night, if that, to check on you.
What about being in hospital then? What was it like being sectioned?
It was horrible. It was really, really horrible. I hated it. I've never been a person to like hospitals anyway. I remember waking up and like I was in the ambulance and I had a bit of a fit, and I was just like, ugh. The nurse I was with, the nurse who was escorting me, she was really nice, and she was like, well, do you want to, you know, hold my hand and stuff? And I was just like ranting and raving and swearing at them, and I was just like, leave me alone. But I got to the hospital and I remember going through all these doors. There must have been at least 6 doors we must have gone through. There was a nurse who was meant to be my key worker, and she was really lovely, but then even though I didn't like the nurse, she was escorting me, and I was like, oh no, I want to stand with her. I don't want you because I don't know you, and at least I've been with her for a couple of hours, so I don't know you. But then when she had to go, they put me in a room. It was a very nice place. Yeah, like it was new at that time. There was only like 3 or 4 patients there, and because we got there about 10 at night, so everybody had like were in the rooms or they were watching telly or something. I don't know, like, and I didn't get to meet like anyone that night apart from my nurse, and I was given like medication to help me sleep.
I think it was a different doctor. I can't remember. But he first of all said, he didn't just dismiss it. He said, like, are you sleeping okay? Are you eating okay? How are you tearful? Things like that. And then he said he didn't want to put me on medicine until I tried counselling because I was under 18. So he said, well, I was 17 and I was sort of flipped from child services to adult services, and no one like knew. So I had a couple of assessments and then refused to have an assessment, but in the end they said, just like, this is a self-referral, do this yourself. Yeah. And then when I went back to the GP again and said, I don't feel like the counselling's working.
Why there has to be an age on everything, I will never know. It's a constant fight. Not one I'm prepared to give up, because it's not just me in this situation, because they are loads within my situation that there's a cut-off point of 18. Well, what happens if that person reaches 18? What do they do now? What do? They get shut off and left. I'm hoping that now, once awareness is made of a situation, that something is done about it, because something's got to change, because it's not fair.
Because I know doctors are very unkeen to prescribe stuff, but when you're sat there begging them, you know, that's more than just somebody who hasn't had a night's sleep for a couple of nights. And it doesn't matter what age you are, an illness can strike at any age. Like if you had a kid that had cancer, you wouldn't like go, oh, we're not going to treat them until they're 18 because we don't want to label them. If they start taking this medication, that'll be like a confirmation that they're actually sick. And that's how they treat young people. And then suddenly when you hit a certain age they take you seriously, but they should do so much longer before then. Because it does make me wonder, like, what it would have been like if from the get-go it was treated as what it was.
And one was just quite general, you know, like helping me cope with it, like teenage, like normal things, and the other one was like specialised in helping me change how I felt, like not how I felt, but how I thought about how I felt and how I dealt with it, like instead of thinking why, thinking sort of like in a constructive way. There's a few of us went, but it was specifically for sort of our age, like sort of like 16 to 18. It was specifically so you could apply it to like everyday life. Like if you're out with your mates, you could use it then. It was helpful. Like it was like you're in a group and they'd ask you if you wanted to contribute. You didn't have to, but it was entirely up to you. And they talked to you. It wasn't like class or anything like that. You'd talk and you know you just like we're doing here, like just talk like this.
I go to college now as well, and a day centre for people with mental health problems.
Yeah. But
the thing is, like, you go to day centres or anything like that with mental health problems, and they are all older than you. There's nothing for people my age.
So you're like the only younger person there? Are the people good there, the staff?
Staff are all older than me.
I don't want anyone to have to be treated the way I've been treated for chronic fatigue or for depression or for any other type of condition, because whatever type of condition you're suffering from, it's going to be distressing.
Yeah, can you tell me more about the SMILE group?
Yes. SMILE stands for Speak Your Mind, Listen, Improve and Express. And we're a group of young people with some advocate help who have decided that things in the mental health system aren't working like they should. We are going to be the group of people that the professionals talk to about prospective changes within the CAM system and also different types of therapy that they're considering bringing in, that kind of thing. It will be run past us before, so we can have a say in it, because it's not just important what the professionals think is best. We're the people who've been through it. We're the people who are currently going through it and are hoping to come out the other side. And that makes it so important we have an input.